It's when you are, because a StreamYard still hasn't fixed that, where if you're a guest in somebody's stream, you cannot respond in the chat.
Yes, which is well. I tell you what, send it to me. We're entertaining the audience now with some technical stuff, but send it to me in the private chat, and then I can share it.
Yeah, sure.
We'll share that. We'll share your link because basically, right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are today, live and direct, coming at you from London and from the Netherlands.
Yes,
and I'm joined by none other than Mr. Jack Napier.
Good morning, everybody. Evening, wherever you are.
Good to see you.
Likewise, Troy.
Indeed. So yeah, how have you been, man? Because it's been a little while since we've sort of done a show, since we caught up, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been a while. I have been doing great. Took a small absence from my weekly live streams, but I'm back on schedule. Even decided to do an extra live stream during the week. Launched a course which started out as a joke, but actually turned into something very seriously. But we'll talk about that way later on, because we're for something very important here today, which is Cat Academy. And as people might know, I have endorsed that ever since it came out.
Absolutely, and many thanks for that. And hopefully you'll be able to come into maybe one of the webinars or one or two of the webinars, depending on your availability. But yeah, so basically for the last 10 days or so, I've been, well, actually, I guess 11 days, because I think this is actually day 12 now. I've been discussing Inner Game on daily live streams. We're talking about the wonderful world of Inner Game, you know, what it is, why it's useful, why you need it, blah, blah, blah. And the main reason I've been doing that, basically a shamefaced promotion, because or unashamed promotion, because obviously Cat Academy, really, when you boil it down, it's kind of an inner game course, isn't it? There is a whole section on outer game as well, you know, what to say, what are your tactics going to be, and all that kind of thing. So you've got that as well, but in essence, really, it's about the mindsets and the inner game stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I thought about it today because confidence is derived from options, as one says. But how do you get the options? Well, to get an option, you kind of need to be confident. But where does the confidence stem from then, when you don't have the options yet?
Yeah, it's the classic sort of chicken and egg type situation, isn't it, really? But what I had slated in today to talk about was when inner game meets outer game. So, you know, we can chat about that a bit, because it's quite interesting. And obviously we'll just branch off and talk about whatever comes to whatever nonsense.
You're live streaming with me, you know how that goes. It's like, oh, topic, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. But the sort of the sort of topic that we've just put up for show, just to sort of as an excuse for a topic, is basically inner game meets outer game. And the reason I had that was because my original plan was I haven't really done this because I've gone into some different topics over the last week, but my original plan was to sort of go through each of the 5 sections of Cat Academy in turn and do a live stream about the content of that. And because the last major section is all about dating techniques, so, you know, what do you say? How do you approach? You know, how do you move the conversation to become more flirtatious and all of these things? I thought it would be interesting to just talk a little bit about, okay, so we've got the internal, we've also then got the external. So how about when those two things meet together? Now, perhaps it's just sort of overcomplicating the point, because for me, the two things are really interrelated, in the sense that, you know, you're in a bar, you're in a cafe or something, you see an attractive woman, you've got to kind of have both. You've got to kind of have that inner confidence. You've got to have that mindset that says, yes, I am attractive, I am the prize, whatever, right? But you've also then got to be able to actually walk over and have something to say, and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. And can you lead the conversation? That's a big one as well.
Yeah, so it's interesting, isn't it? Because people talk about, oh, you've got to lead the conversation and all of that stuff. Got to have the balls, as Mish says.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you've got to be able to lead the conversation, but is that inner game or outer game? I mean, you could perhaps learn some external sort of techniques, you know, to keep the conversation going, or you could say you could learn some stories to tell, or you could memorize some lines or something like this, which would be an outer game thing. But really, that's not going to be convincing unless you've got the inner game stuff, which is to think, yes, I am valuable. I'm a you know, I'm a dominant alpha male, high quality man, or you know, whatever it is. And so it comes over with gravitas, right?
I agree with you on that, and I would like to add that, let's say, the external part, the what do I say, how do I need to say it, comes naturally the better your inner game is.
That's true. That's true. And it comes round really to what Rollo Tomasi would talk about in terms of being the game, which is maybe sounds a bit cliche. I am the game.
Well, he's not wrong when he says that, because
No.
I mean, the more, and how do I phrase this? And I've said this before, when you are actually convinced you are the shit, most of these things just come naturally. You naturally play with her and play with her, kind of thing. You know how to banter just because you're outcome independent.
Yes.
Which is the paradoxical thing, because banter is actually just seeing how far you can rock the boat.
Yeah.
And see if she's willing to play that game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of that fun of pushing it a little bit, isn't it? In terms of what you say and sort of seeing what you can get away with socially, if you like, you know, just being a bit cheeky, a little bit, not confrontational necessarily, but just being a little bit cheeky, a little bit cocky maybe, and just kind of seeing, and it is sort of a game, because sometimes you might go a little bit too far and then you have to reel it back in or whatever. But and that is the fun of it, I think, for me.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's where I go off the rails every now and then. I push it too far sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm having so much fun with it, and then all of a sudden it's like, what did you say? And that's like, oh, I went too far, didn't I? Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Very, I mean, easy to do, because we would say, okay, you've got to go in and you've got to judge the situation on its merits. You've got to, you know, have a look at the woman that you're interacting with and kind of think about, okay, so where are her boundaries going to be? And if I say X, is that going to be a little bit too much? But of course, it's very hard to do that in reality when you've only just met someone. You know, you can sort of have a guess at it based on their demeanor, but you can't, you know, it's hard to know exactly. So I think pushing the boundaries a little bit conversationally with the flirtation is fine to do, but you've just got to watch it a little bit, because if you go too far with something, if you say something that's a bit too crude, or it's, I don't know, whatever, you know, pushing the envelope a little bit, you can find yourself in hot water, or with cold water tipped all over you when she throws her drink at you.
True. Yeah, at a certain point, what you need to look out for, and the best way I can describe it is, don't start treating her like one of your male friends.
Yeah.
As you might know, like as men with our friends, we like to banter a lot, and there are no boundaries in that. Like everything is on the or everything is off the table. Now, to a certain degree, you can do that in flirting, but the trick is not to push too far with that, because it is a romantic interest. It's not your best buddy who you watch the game with, sort of say. It's a romantic interest. And then I would like to default to what Ryan always says, that alpha is attraction, beta is comfort. And can you dance between two?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've got a real life woman on the stream today. Glory be, amen. So maybe she's got some insights into this that she can share.
There keep popping up more and more women in this stream. Who's opening the door?
I do now have at least 3 kind of fairly regular female viewers to my content. I think it's since I started making my content a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more vulnerable, you know, doing some of those to camera videos where I'm talking about, you know, missing my ex-girlfriend, or if it's painful to break up and stuff like that. I think it's drawing in that female audience. So, which is no bad thing, right? I mean, you know,
they are good videos. No honesty, they are good videos, man.
Like, yeah, thanks, man. I mean, really, to be honest, that's where I want to take the content going forward. You know, more of that kind of thing. It's just that it's that balance, isn't it? Because we've got a bunch of videos still from Russia featuring Mr. King Cole, who's in the chat. Good to see you, sir. That I need to put out, and various things, you know, stuff that I'm doing with Tusk and stuff like that. But in general, really, I think those more reflective, kind of philosophical, if you like, videos are really where I want to go with the content, because I think that, you know, it's just something I feel I really enjoy making them, really enjoy writing them, really enjoy making them, and I just feel it's a bit more. I'm getting better engagement with those videos than I am with some of the other stuff, you know.
it does do you justice if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like, you are an artist, and in those videos, that really expresses itself.
No, thank you, man. I mean, I appreciate that. I think it's sort of like you've got to kind of try and play to your strengths, I think, haven't you, in all of this? And it's sort of like, well, okay, what gives me standout? You know, okay, well, I'm not Rich Cooper, you know, for various reasons. I'm not, you know, everybody has their own thing. And it's a bit like, okay, well, what is your thing? And it seems to me to make sense to lean into that thing. Because otherwise you're just kind of becoming an imitation of other people, and it's just not really gonna, you know, it just doesn't have that resonance.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I'm still trying to find that, in all honesty, but it's going okay.
Well, to be honest, I mean, it's taken me a long time. I think we all start off. I don't want to say copying other people, because obviously everyone brings their own opinions to this space and they bring their own viewpoints and that unique kind of take on things. But, you know, we end up doing similar things, and then maybe you start to think, I suppose you just start to see what gets resonance, and maybe you start to think, okay, well, maybe this is the bit that I should lean into, you know. So it is what it is, really. I think it's a
you
journey.
Need to keep evolving. You need to be you always need to be flexible.
Absolutely, indeed.
That's even 48 Laws of Power right there.
Yeah, exactly. King Cole says that camera video was really amazing. Thanks, man. I mean, actually, in a way, without showing the Wizard of Oz, you know, the little man in the control box, kind of just giving away all the secrets. But there is something a little bit Robert Greene about those videos as well, because I'm kind of, if you show a vulnerability, but you're showing it sort of intentionally, that is kind of, I'm trying to think what law this pertains to, really, but it kind of, you could do that with kind of intentionally, because you know it's going to draw people in, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, that's the art of seduction, I believe.
Yeah.
Well-placed vulnerability. I do know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way to, I mean, maybe there's a different way to express it, but it's you know, I mean, I've done a couple of videos that were quite emotional in a way, and they are genuine. You know, it is genuinely what I think and feel. But at the same time, you have got half an eye to the audience and thinking, oh, I bet the guy's going to like this one, you know. And it's sort of like, there's a slight Machiavellianism about it, perhaps. But, you know, whatever. I mean,
it is and stays marketing. But that doesn't mean that what you market isn't true.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, who am I thinking? I keep thinking about. Well, anyway, okay. I can't think of the exact Robert Greene thing I'm talking about, but there is an element of sort of, okay, how can I use
There are
this
so many of them. It's like, you know what? Robert Greene. Just Robert Greene.
Exactly. Simon Thompson is in the chat. Hi, Troy and Jack. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for
Morning,
tuning
Simon.
in. Glory B says, glad I'm welcome. More than welcome. Everybody is welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, so anyway, so in a game, out a game. I mean, I think if you had to choose one, I reckon that, to be honest, if you had super strong in a game, then you probably wouldn't need any of the rest of the stuff, really.
Agree, because then, like I said, then it becomes natural. It's that outcome independence. I can take it or leave it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already convinced I'm the shit. I find you attractive, so I will bless you with the good graces of my presence. And if you are not capable of noticing how awesome I am, that is not my fault. To exaggerate a bit. But it really does come down to that. Like, hey, I'll approach you because I think you're hot. Let's see if you can play. Can you play? At least that's always the perspective I go from. Like, can you play with me? Are you capable of banter? And if she isn't, well, her loss, because now I have the time to look for somebody else.
Yeah, I do think in the moment it can be slightly hard to. It's a very ripped looking picture of you, by the way, Jack. That you've got
know. Marketing as well.
Absolutely.
And play to your strengths.
We have to do these things. We have to get naked to promote our brand.
I'm gonna grow my hair out as well and dye it blonde, by the way. That seems to help.
Very sort of pro wrestling kind of vibe. Troy is streaming for non-stop last 48 hours. Lol. Well, man, you know, you got when you're on the promotional trail, you've got to do these things, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? It's like, so what were we saying? So yeah, in the moment though, that can be tricky though, can't it? Because as much as we could sit here and say, yeah, well, you know, I'm the prize, and if she doesn't think so, then that's her loss. When you are getting knocked back by that girl that you think is really cute and you actually really liked her, and then she's just saying, oh, actually, sorry, mate, that can sting a little bit, can't it?
Yes, it can. And then you kind of get to, how do you get in our game? Apologies.
Yes. And you get it by joining Cat Academy. So,
well, that is one. You know, I mean, you do go through the process of all that, but you're not born thinking I'm the shit. In all honesty, you are born and you're put into an education system where that's beaten out of you. How dare you think you're better than somebody else?
Well, yeah, but yeah, exactly. And I guess you're thinking about the participation trophy kind of culture where everyone gets a gold medal for just turning up and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, but let's say you excel in something and you're actually proud of that. And it's like, well, there's no reason to flaunt that. And it's like, why not? You're good at it.
Yeah.
You bring value to other people with your ability in that area and things like that. Why not be proud of it? Be it.
Yes, I think there's something to be said for brashness, actually, in this space, or what we might think of as being brash. You know how, particularly, maybe it's more Europeans, but we are sort of British, certainly. It's like, oh, I don't want to show off. I don't want to, you know, blah, blah, blah. Actually, screw all of that, because we're only alive for a few years anyway. You may as, and everybody else people out there who are successful are self-promoters. So why shouldn't we be self-promoters as well?
Well, exactly.
You know, when you're not just on, you know, online or something, but when you're out and about, it's not going up to people and going, hey, look at my Rolex or that kind of thing. But it's a bit like you want to go out and own it. You want to go out and be like, hey, listen, actually, I am, you know, I've got a lot going for me here. I am something special.
Yeah. Well, funny thing is, and I think some people will disagree with me on this, but when you have, okay, how do I phrase this? The Rolex is not the inner game, sort of say. And
sounds like one of those really philosophical sort of.
Yeah, let me think. I mean, we're dealing with a language barrier, remember? It's like Dutch to English, but it's like
no, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Lifting doesn't make you alpha, but since you have that alpha mindset, you're gonna lift because you want to be the best version of yourself because you care that much about yourself. And one who cares so much about himself has certain characteristics and traits.
Yeah. I agree. And yeah, like you say, the things that you get along the way, like if you end up getting money or big cars or, you know, beautiful women or whatever it is, those things are sort of, that's not the qualities that you have inside are the reasons that you got those things, rather than it's all about those things. Those things are just the external manifestations. Because I was talking about this in connection with the Tates actually again recently, and I was sort of saying it's not so much what they have that makes them, it's the fact that they were able to get it. And you do have this sense that if they lost everything overnight, are they going to end up living in a dumpster truck somewhere? Probably not. They're probably going to be able to build it back up again. And I think that's the important thing. It's what are the intrinsic qualities that you've got that mean that you could build up that level of success again.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, I've said it before. Like Andrew is a very, very good like case study on certain things, especially the comply or goodbye part. Like take it or leave it. I'm going that way. Like I love you and I care for you, but if you don't want to join me, then that's fine. Now, how many guys are actually willing to say that? Not many, because of that non-existent outcome independence. They're afraid of the outcome. But if you are so confident in yourself that, like I said, take it or leave it with the outcome, you'd be surprised how many times said outcome will benefit your favor.
Yes, absolutely. You know, you need to be confident enough in your own path, in your own mission, in your own sense of self, I suppose, that you just go ahead and do what you want to do regardless, right?
Yeah, and I can hear the black pillars already. Like, just be confident, bro. Okay. Then we go a bit full circle here. What we said about confidence is derived from options, but where do those options come from? Which I would like to add that confidence not only is derived from options, but what a confident man would do for himself. And even Peterson got this. Of all people, Peterson got this, where it's like, treat yourself like you would treat somebody you need to take care of. It's that self-image thing. Like, you care about yourself, right? You want to be healthy. You want to be strong and capable and things like that. You would want others to be that, right? So why not treat yourself like you would want to? Why not treat yourself how you would like to see others?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we talk in the course a bit about affirmations, which, you know, it can sound a little bit woolly if you haven't done them, but I do think that self-talk is very important. What are you saying to yourself? And Tusk talks about this. Are you treating yourself as you would a friend? If you talk to a friend in the way that you talk to yourself, would that person still be friends with you? Probably not. You know, so you've got to think about, you know, okay, so how am I sort of treating myself?
That's where self-deprecate. Yeah, am I saying that right? Self-deprecation. Yeah, that's why that is so damaging in game. I don't remember which one, but our Lord and Savior, writer of the Bible, Rollo Tomasi, has Iron Rule, one of the 9, where it's like never self-deprecate.
Exactly.
Would a guy who's sure of himself self-deprecate? No, he wouldn't. Because for humor's sake, no. And why would a girl want to go out with a guy who thinks in a negative light of himself?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose people might say, well, okay, if he's really confident in himself, then he can afford to have a laugh at himself as well. But I don't know, really. I mean, if you look at very high value people, in actuality, they very rarely self-deprecate.
Mm-hmm. You could be right about that. In all honesty, like, I haven't met the highest of the highest values, but it is rare with just, higher value individuals in general. Like, you watch First Dates, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, the British version isn't as bad as the Dutch version, but you'd be amazed how many guys show up and just self-deprecate all the time. It's like, you can see the girl looking at them like, oh.
Well, you know, it's kind of like, as John always says, sex is sales, right? You are the product. And if you're going into a dating scenario and you're kind of joking around that the product is a bit substandard, that doesn't seem to me to be a very good sales strategy, right? Really, you want to be saying, no, the product is amazing. I mean, you don't even need to be saying that, you know, overtly, but that's the mindset that you want to come in with, right? Because why is somebody going to buy a product if even the person selling it thinks it's a bit crap, or at least is joking about it? It just doesn't make sense. You know, if you don't see TV adverts saying, oh, you know, our product's a bit shit, but, you know, give it a go anyway. Why not? You know, you just don't see that messaging, do you?
You rarely see that. It's always, it will increase your dick size by 5 inches, your height with 7 inches, your bank account with 6 zeros. Just name it. All the products are amazing everywhere. But it does bring a lesson with it, where it's like, why would you, if you're convinced of yourself, do that? Like, look at all the other things around you. If somebody is actually trying to sell you something, a product, would they say like, oh, this is, it's okay, but, well, you know, things like that? Even though I am guilty of this with my own products every now and then, because I'm a horrible marketer. I'm like, hey, I have the knowledge, and if you want to buy it, you can buy it, kind of thing.
Well, yeah.
But that's actually a horrible sales technique. Like, I should up that up to 11. It's like, no, mine is the best.
There's something to be said for authenticity as well. But I think, I mean, the only thing I would say from that is that I would notice that you're not saying, well, I kind of have the knowledge. Maybe I've got the knowledge, maybe not. But, you know, you should buy it. I think you're sort of saying, no, I've got the knowledge. if you want it, you can buy it. If not, don't. Right? And I think that's okay because you're not the core thing, which is the knowledge. You're not disputing that.
No.
No, I have the knowledge.
Oh no, I am very convinced of that. No, absolutely right. And that's why I don't understand the whole self-deprecating thing against a girl, where it's like you want to sell yourself. And that begins with representation of oneself with the style and the haircut and or the beanie in my case, or whatever. Even your opener. Even your opener. You don't walk up to a girl and go like, hey, I'm not the best you can get, but want to try? It's like, what? No.
Yeah, exactly. And also as well, it comes down to your own sense of your place in the world, really, because you could walk up to the girl, and you get this actually in some old songs. Sometimes you get this kind of thing in the lyrics. You could walk up to the girl and go, hey, I'm not the rich guy, I'm not the richest guy in the world, I'm not going to be able to buy you diamonds and pearls, but I'm a good guy, why don't you give it a go, sort of thing. But that means that you are buying into the value system of, unless I'm really, really rich, I'm not good enough. So you're buying into someone else's value system. But why buy into that value system? Why not have your own value system, which states, actually, I'm the shit because I'm really cultured. I've got all these different things going for me. I'm creative. I am, I do this, I do that, whatever. For those reasons, I'm bloody awesome. And it's almost like, well, those guys with money, yeah, but they're just shallow idiots, right? This is the real deal. Why not go in with the confidence in your own value system rather than sort of deprecating yourself based on society's value system?
Mm-hmm. And I think you almost described Frame right there. It's like you have your own set of values. You're going after what you want, not what somebody else wants.
Yeah, exactly. Because, it might be that you want to go and live in a cabin and write books, which doesn't, to me, it sounds like a pretty damn good idea, to be honest.
No, not a Jesus fan.
Sorry?
Not a Jesus fan. No Saint Francis coming in the future.
Well, let's see. I've got to pivot at some point, haven't I? But but that might be the thing that you want to do. Now, if you do that, you may not end up with 6 Lambos or whatever. But your value system is different because that wasn't what you set out to do. What you set out to do was to say, no, listen, I want to create something. I'm going to go away and do that. It's maybe in monetary terms, maybe it's not going to make me billions. But so what? That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to do something else. So you've got to be convinced in your own value system rather than just measuring yourself against somebody else's value system. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Because that's when you get individualism. Then you get that point where you finally break free of societal why not? It's like that is the whole red pill thing. What do you want? And what do you need to get it?
Exactly.
Or do you still feel guilty about wanting to get it, kind of thing? I mean, I've heard stories about a guy in the suburbs or something like that. His wife didn't want to touch his dick anymore, so he fucked all the neighbors. He was like, okay, you're not giving it to me, I'll get it somewhere else.
You wouldn't want to do that around here, mate, I tell you.
No, no, I can imagine. It's one of the old married red pill stories. It truly is get yours. And whatever get yours is up to you, not up to somebody else. And that is where that whole confidence comes from. Like, what do you want? Confidence is about you, not appeasing to somebody else. Because that's no longer confidence. That's approval-seeking behavior right there. Then you're still living according to somebody else's values. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that's not to say that those values are wrong. I mean, obviously, money's great. Cars are great. Lavish homes and travel is all that stuff's great, but it doesn't. You don't have to buy into that. If you want to buy into that, then do. But you don't have to. This is why people often say when talking about dating, they'll say, "Oh yeah, man. So what do I do about my Instagram? Because there's no pictures of me on yachts on it, and standing outside Lambos and stuff like that." And it's a bit like, well, that game works, that strategy works, but you've got to do it authentically. If you're going to play that game, if you're going to do that strategy, you've got to actually be able to back it up. You've got to have the lifestyle to back it up, right? If you haven't, then don't play that game. Play a different game. Do you know what I mean? Like my
Oh yeah.
Instagram, my my personal Instagram is very unpimped, if you know what I mean. It's very, very basic. It's just some pictures of me, you know, some family pictures, stuff like that. Nothing impressive. Because I'm not playing the game of, oh, look at my Instagram, it's going to really impress you. You know, my Instagram is there, well, partly to keep in touch with family and friends, and also if I did add a girl to it, it would, you know, she'd be able to see, okay, reasonably normal guy, you know, no sort of major red flags here, you know, fine, box ticked. But it's not there to go, hey, look at my Lambo and stuff like that, because I'm not playing that game. I'm not trying to showcase a lifestyle for it. Do you see what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know 100% what you mean. That comes back to the whole global sexual marketplace, which I understand it. I'm not a fan of it. Because in this space, you've got people who take things literally but not seriously, while they need to take it seriously, not literally. Yes, Instagram has changed the game. It has. Mostly for the higher echelons. Because if you're a blue check mark on Instagram and whatever, you will get access to like girls with the blue check mark themselves, and you name it, and the thousands of followers, whatever. But, and I keep saying this, the sexual marketplace is geographical. Your local bar is a sexual marketplace. Your local grocery store is a sexual marketplace. Your hometown is a sexual marketplace. You jumping on a plane going to Ibiza is a sexual marketplace. Just because she has an Instagram, yes, she has access to certain other guys. But who's the guys standing in front of her? And some people would say, oh, you can't compete with her Instagram. Can't I? Of course I can't with everybody, but how do I still get dates then? I had 2 dates this week. Very successful dates, I might add, without going into too much information. But how did that happen then? Well, because I entered a different sexual marketplace than the Instagram one. Because it's all geographical. It is not set in stone. It exists, the global sexual marketplace. But again, people take it literally, not seriously, and they lose themselves in it, where it's like, oh, there's no hope, and I need this, I need that. No, you don't. You're trying to outrun the bear while you haven't even outrun your friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been some of us, you know, have acknowledged that actually the global sexual marketplace, and I think Rollo really nailed this with he wrote an article about, of course, he wrote an article about it. I think about
Simpsons did it.
Yeah, probably about 2 years ago now, and it's very true. But at the same time, really, when you think about it, because the idea is, yeah, you know, your girl can be getting hit up by some guy in Dubai with a massive yacht or what, you know, whatever it is, and he's just going to fly her off from her little town, and you know, so the whole marketplace is now just these top 10% guys are getting all of the spoils and stuff like that. But actually, in reality, while that kind of thing does happen, I don't think it happens in a very widespread way, because most girls, you know, most women really, you know, they probably like the country, they probably like where they're from, they might want to do a bit of travel, but in the main they probably want to live where they're from, they want to be near their family, their friends and stuff like that. I mean, I know myself, you know, moving countries is a big deal. It's not a small thing to just say, oh, sorry, okay, I'll just go and live somewhere across the world, because some, you know, because some dudes hit you up on Instagram. It's kind of, you know, it's a big thing. And so the amount of times that actually this is happening, that some amazing playboy is stealing the girl from your local village is I would say very, very minimal. And then you're right, the sexual marketplace there is a sort of an overarching sexual marketplace, but the micro markets, or the geographical markets, are very, very different, which is why I can get a very different response when I go to somewhere like Kiev than I do in London, because the sexual marketplace, the dating marketplace there is different. There are different dynamics, and there are different forces at play. So yes, and this is another reason why the black pill narrative is such a load of BS, because it's all very well sitting in your small town in, you know, Wyoming or whatever, and going like, oh yeah, the dating marketplace is screwed. Well, it might be in your town with 3,000 people, but it isn't all over the planet, because there are micro markets go all over the place. And the scene can be very different if you travel somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. I mean, It could be me. Like I have been accused of being too competitive every now and then. Where it's like I look at Tinder and I'm like, okay, so what do I need to get swiped on more?
Mm.
What does my competition look like? 31-year-olds.
So
How do they?
You're checking out the guys on Tinder, basically.
Well, shit.
That's what we're saying.
I walked right into that one. Shit, you got me. I don't got Tinder. I got Grinder. No, but I ask around every now and then, and I have seen Tinder from girls I've dated.
I actually, in all seriousness, I have heard that as a strategy. I have heard guys saying, "Oh, you should, go on there as a girl and just have a look and see what the competition's like." So it's not as, I was saying that as a joke, but actually, Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Hold
so
on.
You were talking to girls, and they showed you some of the people that
well,
are on there.
Yes. The thing is, when you look at your competition in your age demographic, and I even talked to Rob about this. Rob says, my co-host, it's like most 31-year-olds are hell out of shape. Did you know that the average 31-year-old already had a divorce at 27?
Really?
Was one of my dates past week. She told me, she's like, hey, you avoided your first divorce. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. And she showed me the statistic. Like most or an average guy of your age probably has already been divorced once. I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound too good. That doesn't sound
when you
too
get to
good.
my age, they must have done it at least twice.
Something like that. But you must have seen this as well, that at your age, most guys are just bent out of shape.
Well, yes. I mean, I guess, yeah, they probably are. If you did a lineup and you looked at dudes of my age, yes, that would probably be the case. I certainly saw. I was waiting to get a prescription filled a little while back, and I was in a queue behind, and there was some dude in front of me, and the woman on the counter asked for his date of birth, so he gave the date of birth, and I was like, "Damn, this guy's about 2 years older than me," and literally, he looked like. I don't know, man. He looked like, he just looked like an old man. I thought this guy must be in his 60s or something like that. And he was only actually really a couple of years older than me. Now, he might have had some illness and things to deal with, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's it is kind of interesting when you look at the competition.
Yeah, and that's what you need to look at. Not the whole perspective. Of course, you need to take hypergamy into account. Absolutely. But look at your competition as well in said sexual marketplace. Like when you go out, what do you probably have to deal with? Just be better than that, and you'll probably be fine. And of course, enroll in Cat Academy because, yes, you do need that inner game. Absolutely.
JD says, in my experience, a lot of men give up post 30. They buy into the idea that nothing can be improved after that. But that is obviously... I mean, he knows this. That is obviously not true, because you can keep self-improving really for pretty much, pretty much forever, I guess. Here's the link, by the way, for Cat Academy. So enroll via Jack's link. There you go. Been spamming it into the chat. So copy and paste that link and enroll via that. Help out Jack as well.
I've heard that as well. Like a couple of years ago, I was at a birthday party. And one of my associates, his wife, they already got married. They were like 27, 26-ish. And her husband was getting kind of a potbelly. And her excuse was, well, all men get that when they're turning 30. And I'm like, what? Do you want to bet that? Are you sure? Are you sure you want to?
Because 30 really is, it's pretty young, really. I mean, it's... As I say, I mean, 30s really should be your prime decade as a guy, I would say. Although, to be honest, maybe you could argue that for 40s as well. I mean, the thing is, I always think about my uncle who, nothing to do with this space, nothing to do with any of this, but he's a dude who, he is now in his 70s and he still goes running, he does yoga, he goes to the gym, he does weights, but, great shape. And even if, I don't know if he does it as much now, but even a few years ago, he going skiing all the time, several skiing holidays a year, going to the après ski parties, chilling with the girls there, meeting girls through that, or meeting certainly women through that. I don't know what age range we're necessarily talking about, but you can still be very relevant for a very long time as a guy, you know, and it's a real mistake to think that that's not the case.
Well, and that's where you kind of get to the mindset of inner game.
Yes.
Where the man you just told me about in his 70s, how do you think he sees himself?
I mean, I think without falling into the cliche, I think you've got to remain young at heart. You know, I mean, I think most of us, I don't see myself as being particularly different to when I was about 27, really. Now, obviously I am, but I don't feel particularly inside that different. And so you just carry on. You know, you don't sort of think, oh, well, you know, like I got to this age now, I need to, like, you know, need time to slow down. You know, you don't think that. You just think, okay, no, I'm going to push on. I'm going to, and also as well, look to people older than you and see what they're doing and recognize that, well, actually, you know, like I mentioned my uncle, one example, but I know other guys, many other guys actually, who are older than me, but they're still smashing it in different areas of life. And you just think, well, if they can do it, then I can do it as well.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, and I want to address something in the chat after this, if you don't mind, because I'm seeing something that I don't really agree with. But I think you and I can both agree that the guy who's 70 years old right now sees himself as an investment. He cares enough about himself to do all those activities to keep improving himself.
Yeah.
And that's where you get that cycle of inner game, caring enough about yourself to perform the activities that improve yourself to become a better self.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Exactly.
There we go. But what I saw I know, I do my best. What I saw in the chat, Pact and what was the other guy? No username. Any advice for men in their early 20s? And Simon says, read The Rational Male. Simon, yes and no. Stop reading, start doing. Like, read The Rational Male once. After that, take action. If you're like 20 years old right now, first thing I would say, get into the goddamn gym. Follow a program for at least a year. No excuses. Just do it. And be financially literate. If there is one thing I could advise my 20-year-old self is get a job, any job, and learn investment. Like, don't be too nitpicky because nobody will take you seriously until you're 35 anyway. So just get a job and learn investing with the money you earn from that. And like I said, get to the gym, get a program, do it for at least a year. But all the reading, and Rob put this perfectly, like, that's the problem. Guys get paralysis by analysis. They keep reading, which is all fine and dandy. Not to shit on Rollo's work. Amazing book. Absolutely helped thousands of men. But at a certain point, you need to take action. And the best time to take action is really in your 20s. If you know about this stuff, like 20 years old, by God, you have a head start.
You do. And like Simon said, guys in your 20s have never had so much information, which is true because, you know, back in my day, we didn't have all this information, you know. It's a cliche to say it, but I really wish some of this information had been around when I was younger, because it would have helped out a lot. But the good thing, as we're saying, is that as a guy, you do have quite a long runway. So even though I'm in my 40s, I can still benefit from things that I read, things that I pick up from you guys. And obviously, I became aware of this stuff when I was, in my 30s or whatever. So I've had some time with it. But yeah, if you're in your 20s, I mean, there is a wealth of information. But like you say, ultimately, really, you've got to be taking action. You know, you can't just be sitting in your bedroom with your proverbial dick in your hand, reading this stuff, I mean, yeah, by all means read it, but you've also got to be taking some action as well in different areas, which include dating. Well, it's money muscles game, isn't it, really?
To put it bluntly, yes. And that's what I mentioned about the financially literate stuff. If I and this is not financial advice, by the way, this is something I did. And I'm not telling you to copy everything, but just your basic conservative index fund. The S&P 500 over the years has always grown, or 9 times out of 10 has grown. Imagine if you would have dollar cost averaged in that when you were 20 and till now, so to say, you would have made pretty good bank. Even if it's only $10 a week, whatever. It compound interest. But I just started doing that like a couple of years ago. But if I had 10 years of that, oh God, that would have been nice.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's never too early to start investing. I want to say it's never too late, but I mean, you certainly want to crack on with it as soon as possible. And obviously, there's a wealth. You know, I'm not in any means an expert on this stuff, but there's a wealth of information out there about.
Oh, don't lie! You're hiding a Lambo behind those curtains.
Yeah, I'll unveil it at the end of the show.
Or a proper English vehicle like the Aston Martin DB5. Just say.
Very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. Saw some great couple of past a Rolls Royce store yesterday. Actually, it was really very nice as well. So yeah, and obviously crypto is the big thing.
Cultivate Crypto is a very good channel.
Yeah, so you know, there's obviously a wealth of info out there. Cultivate Crypto being probably the best resource for guys to have a look at. So yeah, so what else about in a game really? I mean, it's as I say, I think if you had to choose between in a game versus outer game, whatever outer game really is anymore. This is the thing as well. I mean, I was reading an old book about dating from probably the early 2000s recently. Somebody recommended it, and there was some kind of good concepts in there and stuff. But the author had put all these stories in there, and he was like, "Oh, you've got to tell a story like this, or you tell an anecdote like this, or a sort of a routine, if you like. Oh, to ask her about, what if my best friend's cheating on his girlfriend? Should I tell the girlfriend? Stuff like that." And I was reading through these things that he was suggesting to say to women, and I was just thinking, this is never going to fly. It just sounds forced. It sounds, and if you were going to use the stuff, you would have to change it dramatically so that it fitted your own voice. But even still, I just feel like we live in an age where women and people in general are very savvy and somewhat skeptical. And if you walk up and you start telling some elaborate big story or something, she's just going to go like, "What are you, like, mate? Cut to the chase. What are you on about? You want to bang me, don't you?" Do you know what I'm saying? I just don't think so. So what we used to call whatever game is now, I think it's really been boiled down to be confident, approach, be authentic, and move things forward depending on the signs that she's giving you. Really, I mean, that's sort of all it is now, isn't it?
It actually is. In all honesty, I mean, approaching isn't that hard. I know the approach anxiety. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've fallen victim to that as well. But approaching really is, "Hey, I saw you. I think you look cute, and I wanted to say hi." That's the opener. That's it. And from there on, you will see if she's receptive or not. Same as Tinder. You can read 1,000 articles on what to say, how to say it, whatever. You want to know what my Tinder intro is?
What?
"Hey, insert name. How's your insert time of the day?" That's it.
That is gold. That is gold there. You should be charging. You should be charging for that.
I know, but every now and then I see something in the bio. So there was one very interesting bio. In all honesty, she said, "Looking for a guy to go to couples counseling with to see how long it takes the counselor to notice we don't know each other." And I immediately went for that. It's like, "Oh, that shouldn't be too hard, but we need a problem." She's like, "Okay, what are you suggesting?" I'm like, "You know what? You're going to keep me off work because of your libido, and you just won't understand we need money for food." And she's like, "Oh, that could work." I just jumped on it. I'm like, "You know what? This is a win or lose situation. I might just shoot for the moon right there." Like, immediately went for the, "You know what? You're the one who's driving me insane with your libido, not the other way around." But the worst part was she told me, "You are the only guy who jumped on that." Really? "You were the only guy who jumped on my bio and actually made a fun interaction out of it." So it's either the bio that you're going for, or like I said, the personalized and dates.
I mean, the cold hard truth is that really your value is extremely important in these interactions, because ultimately And I think there was a myth created by the marketing, particularly in the earlier days of, dating advice and game and things like that, where there was this idea that, well, if you just say these 6 things or you say these words in this certain way, she's going to fall in love with you and whatever. And you can almost get any woman kind of thing. I mean, that would be the most egregious marketing.
Something I want to add to that.
Yes.
What I noticed with Tinder, and that's why my opener is so basic. When they like you, they'll respond. It really is a numbers game. It really is a numbers game. There is no one opener to rule them all forged in the mountain of Sauron or whatever. It really is a numbers game. Of course, she swiped right on you, but it could have been boredom, could have been whatever. She's into you. She'll respond to anything.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of the same if you meet a girl during the daytime and then you get her phone number and then you're going to text her later and guys, so what opening text should I use? Should I make up something funny about the outfit she was wearing or and all of this? And it's like, well, you can do that, but you could, like Mr. M, my colleague over who I've been from Tusk's team who I've been working with over the summer, he just texts now, he just goes, hey, it was nice meeting you, smiley face, or something like that, and that's it, for the same reason, because if she's interested in you, she's going to respond. That's so you don't need anything complicated. And this is, I suppose, in a way, we're undermining now the whole notion of game and whatever I'm trying to sell. But I mean, I think it's more nuanced than that, though, because there are certainly things that you can do to improve the way you put yourself across in social situations, and I think that's what we're teaching, really. So when we do, say, a boot camp at training event, and guys come, and then we send them off to go and talk to women, and we look at what they do, and we give them advice. There are certain things you can definitely do that maybe will improve the way that you present yourself, and there may be things that you're doing that is undermining the way you're presenting yourself.
Yes.
Maybe you're looking too keen, or you're looking too needy, or you're looking too desperate, or you're looking too whatever it is. There's things that could be tweaked. But after that, once you get that stuff down, it does really come down to your value. Because if you're just like a fat schlub and you're dressed like a load of crap, you're not really going to get traction realistically, are you?
Exactly. And that's why I don't think you're undermining yourself. Absolutely not. Because what we just mentioned is that outcome independence. It really is like, I can get anything anywhere else. So I know that no matter what my opener via text is, she's going to respond whether she likes me or not. And you're confident with that. You are at peace with that. There is outcome independence, because the guy we just described, where it's like, oh, how should I respond? And what should I respond to? Blah, blah, blah. Men with no frame in what they do, they are outcome dependent. They are so focused on what the outcome needs to be that they focus hours on end on what the opener should be, instead of just the relaxed, normal approach of, you know what, I'll just text her, we'll see what happens, and otherwise I'll meet a new one tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then it comes down to that lack of abundance, which is because of your mental frame. You don't believe that abundance exists out there for you, and that's probably because you're not confident in yourself. Because if you were wholly confident in yourself, then you would naturally think, well, of course, abundance exists for me because I'm awesome. Therefore, there's going to be loads and loads of women out there who will want to get to know me. So in the end, it comes down to that mindset, doesn't it? Because can you imagine, like, the archetypal, 2D alpha, really high value guy who's 6'6", ripped, rich, 6 foot, whatever, right? That guy. Do you really think he's sitting around going, what opener should I use? Should I say hi, or should I use her name, or should I use an emoji, or should I not use an emoji? Should I put a full stop or not use punctuation? I mean, he's not going to give a damn. He's just going to whip off a quick text. He's like, hey, cool meeting you. If she doesn't reply, so what? It doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. And that's the kind of guy you want to come across as.
It's like, hey, here I am. Let's grab coffee. Oh, you don't want to? Fine. Bye. But you need to get to that point where you feel relaxed enough doing that. And there's so many guys who are not out there, and be it starvation, let's sort of say, or confidence. It could have many reasons.
Also,
Hmm?
yeah, to be frank, you might just be playing in a very bad marketplace as well. You might be in a geographically just in a place where, the odds are against you. And you've got to recognize that as being an issue as well. I mean,
Sorry, I saw JD in the chat.
I mean, population size is important. I mean, I started to, my dating life improved dramatically when I moved. I was living in a smaller city and then I moved to London. And when I moved to London, where there's 10 million people or whatever, my dating life improved dramatically. Wasn't particularly, I mean, I was doing things differently actually, but I hadn't massively changed in and of myself, but I was just in a place that's more abundant, Similar, you go to a big city, you go to New York or Moscow or something like that, there's going to be more opportunities there for a start. That's one thing. And then there are, like we were saying before, there are certain markets that are just going to be more favorable to you. So, you can't, you've got to look at that as well. You've got to look at where you are. I mean, if I get a guy who contacts me and goes, yeah, I'm in this town with 3,000 people, how do I become great at day game? It's like, well, you probably kind of don't, to be honest. You probably kind of got to move.
Mm-hmm. Like you can learn the basics there, like I mentioned before, like talk to the cashier or talk to somebody random on the street you happen to walk into to kind of practice the conversation skills. But like with real day game success, yeah, you might want to move to somewhere larger because like you're gonna get that with small towns. You're gonna get that everybody knows each other kind of thing. You kind of want to avoid that. It's like
Exactly. So no username says, question for Troy, how long did it take for you to enhance your inner game? It really actually took a very long time. And I think as well with things like that, it's an ongoing journey. I don't think you reach a point where you're like, my inner game is now sorted.
I have reached nirvana.
I'm just going to sit back on a cloud and, and chant and meditate and stuff like that. I don't think that's realistic. I think inner game is, it goes up and down because things happen, shit happens. You got to be realistic about life. Life isn't always a bed of roses and, things change. But I would say that my inner game is now significantly better than it was certainly 2 decades ago and probably a decade ago as well. I think I think over time there has been a general sort of upward trend, but it's because I've continued to do the work, as Rich would say. I do take the self-development stuff quite. I take it all on board. I try to apply stuff that resonates with me. I do the stuff. I try to do the stuff that you're meant to do. The exercise, the the mindset stuff, whatever. But it did take me a long time, but it doesn't need to take you a long time because you can just join CAD Academy and then it's only going to take you. Well, the whole point of CAD Academy is it's a transformational program I've put everything that I've learned into it. And so it will take you from where you are now and allow you to sort of build up that new archetype of yourself that you can go out confident into the world with these new mindsets, these refreshed ideas about yourself, much more quickly than it took me to do the same thing.
I mean, it is a very dense course. And I said that before. I'm still not through all the modules. As you might notice, my inner game isn't as great as yours. And that's because I haven't finished it yet. It's my own fault.
Yeah, when you finish it, mate, it's going to be like Nirvana.
I know.
You're going to be on a cloud of inner game ecstasy.
Yeah, what's like serenity, I believe is the word. Something like that.
Yeah.
But what I liked about it is that you truly focus on what really is important, that is oneself. Because, of course, we're talking about the dating aspect here. But let's say, what is your life like without a girlfriend, whatever? Or are you just lifting and making bank for women? Because then you're still doing it for somebody else. The point of all of it is you do it for you. You want to become the best because of you.
Exactly. I mean, you want to be living an interesting life, but you want to be living an interesting life primarily for yourself, because it's just a cool thing to do, because you've only got so many years on the planet and you may as well do cool stuff while you're here. So that's the first thing. And in order to do that and in order to enjoy it, you want to be healthy, you want to be in good shape, you want to have, a reasonable amount of money. You don't have to be a multimillionaire, but you want to have, some disposable income so you can enjoy it. You want to have those fundamentals in place. And
you
then
want to have the
dating side of things comes after that, really.
you want to have the income that helps you get what you want without any stress. And be that
Yeah.
a million, be that 100K. As long
Exactly.
as it gets you what you want and not what you think others need you want.
Exactly. Well, we've got kind of an interesting spectrum of ideas on this. I mean, even on Rule Zero, if you look at, you've got Aaron Clary, but then you've got John MLD, and they're kind of coming at it from different. I mean, not and both are valid. I don't think there's one is right or wrong. I mean, I do like the minimalism stuff. I really, really do. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with trying to make bank. I think that's fine as well. But yeah, you're right. You need to be you need enough money that you are autonomous. You're able to do the things that you want to do. I mean, that's sort of as simple as it gets, isn't it? Really. I mean, do you need to be a multimillionaire? No, I don't think you do, to be honest.
Depends on what you want. That really is the answer. Depends on what you want. But if you're a guy like Clary doesn't need to be a multimillionaire for what he wants.
Yes, exactly. So Jonathan says, I like the idea that if they're truly interested, they will make it easy for you. I mean, we were banging on earlier in the year about the Robert Glover book, Dating Essentials for Men. And in that, and this just sounds such a no-brainer that it's so simple, but in that he's got this concept of high interest versus low interest. And you go and you talk to the girl, like, hey, I just saw you look nice, and whatever, bit of chit chat, and you can gauge pretty quickly. Is there high? And he says there's only high interest or there's low interest. So if she says to you, or you're chatting for a bit, and then she's got, well, yeah, I got a boyfriend, blah blah blah. Guys will be like, well, does she really have a boyfriend? What do I say? How do I turn things around? And it's a bit like, look, it doesn't really matter if she's got a boyfriend or she hasn't got a boyfriend, or if she's kind of seeing a guy or what. I mean, just, it doesn't matter. She said it. She's put it there. It's deliberately as an obstacle. That therefore denotes low interest. Because if she had high interest in you, she probably wouldn't have mentioned it. Or at least if she had mentioned it, she would have said, but we're not serious, or something like that. Right. So it's like, is it high interest? Is it low interest? If it's low interest, like, okay, have a great day. Nice to meet you. Bye. If it's high interest, then you proceed. And that is a very blunt instrument. But I think there's some value there in terms of, like, you're going in, you're being as social as you can, you're meeting lots of new people, and then you're determining, is there that high interest there or that low interest there?
Yeah. Most of it has been overcomplicated just for marketing's sake. No honesty. Because look, the whole boyfriend thing, you could play it up for laughs a bit. Well, he's not invited, or okay, good. Yeah. At least somebody can pay for the drinks. But like mostly 2 sentences afterward, you'll just get the no anyway.
Yeah, you could. I mean, this is all of that boyfriend destroyer stuff in inverted commas. You can say that stuff as a kind of a joke, but it doesn't usually make any difference. She's not going, oh, actually, okay, you've said that funny line. All right, let's go and have sex. It doesn't work like that.
Why not just go for the girl who's instantly like, hey, well, how nice of you to approach me. How's your day?
Now, guys, critics will say, okay, so what you guys are saying is no game at all. You just go up and say hello, and you see if she likes you, if she doesn't like you. But that ignores the huge iceberg, under the water of in a game, because and how you and also the not inconsiderable top layer of how you present yourself. Because if you don't have the inner game, if you don't have that belief in yourself, and also on top of that, if you're not presenting yourself in the right way, which is the external game stuff, then you're more likely to get a negative, you're more likely to see low interest than you are to see high interest. So to maximize your chances of seeing high interest in the women that you interact with, take Cat Academy through, but no, you've got to, it's not like you do no work and you just rock up, with your Cheetos stained sweatshirt and your, I don't know, whatever, and you're out of shape and all the rest of it, and you've got no self-confidence, and you're also really socially inept. And like, yeah, you're right. I like you. She goes, oh, sorry, mate, I'm not interested. You're like, okay, low interest, on to the next one. You've got to do the work behind the scenes, but then the actual game part of it is really very simple.
What is the number one thing people approach you for?
Me.
Yeah.
Sex, women.
I mean, guys. I knew I
Um,
wasn't the only one on Grinder. Thanks for confirming that.
it often, well, I mean, there's sort of two things really. Often, just very simple, like fear of approaching. I want to approach.
There we
them,
go.
yeah.
There we go. I mean, approaching is game. Approaching in and of itself is game because we have this thing called approach anxiety. There hasn't been a topic that hasn't been written about more, I think, in game than approach anxiety. You have a whole book on it as well called Approach Your Like Chat, now available on audio. Just saying. But that in and of itself is game and inner game as well. And let's be honest here, all of us here have experienced approach anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is not something very easily conquered for everybody.
Everybody gets it to some extent, and it doesn't. I don't think it ever just completely evaporates.
It never does. And if critics would say, "Well, you're disregarding game," no, we're not, because what comes after the whole approach thing? Like, of course, you've introduced yourself, but can you keep the conversation going? Are you an interesting person? Do you know any social? Do you have social skills? Things like that. If you haven't yet, go apply for Cat Academy because Troy goes into that in a 10-hour-long video course.
Plus 10 live Zoom webinars as well that you can join on tier 2. So tier 1, you can just get the digital course, but tier 2, you can join a series of 10 live Zoom webinars I'll be doing in the following weeks, where we will be going deep into these concepts and we'll be discussing it in a group context. But obviously you can ask questions, you can talk about any challenges, issues you've got. We'll be bringing in some other experts. Hopefully Jack can come in. We'll bring in, maybe some of the Rule Zero guys or whoever. We'll get some special guests along to give their sort of take on things as well. And that's really where the magic happens because, it's not on YouTube. We can be a bit more candid in how we talk about things. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
A bit more crude. I saw
and also as well, there's another tier as well, which is £1,000. So it's a bit more, it's a slightly higher investment, but when you measure it against the cost of a boot camp or something, it's actually pretty very cost effective. And that includes both the digital course, the 10-hour digital course, plus the Zoom classes, plus you get 2 months worth of WhatsApp mentoring with me as well, including WhatsApp calls, plus WhatsApp texting and between us in a group where you can ask any questions you want, etc., etc.
Nice. Damn.
Jonathan says also, interesting how romantic attraction fades with familiarity. Unfortunately, that is the sad reality of life, and then we all die alone. Spoiler alert. Either literally or figuratively. I'm only joking. I'm sure it ends happily for some people. Jonathan also says, Jack, do you take a lady out on? How often do you take a lady out on a dinner date? It's my understanding you just invite them over and they come, and if they come, they come.
Well, I want to add to that. They invite me over to them every now and then as well because I like getting out of the house. So that happens too. That happened twice this week, and it happened previously before that as well. But to ask your question, like how often do I take a lady out to dinner? I can't remember the last time I did that. I took a girl to KFC a while back. And that was my main play.
That is ultimate pimp game. That is Apex Alpha pimp game right there.
Well, I don't know why guys always worry so much because I always come from the understanding it's like, hey, let's do something together. I feel like eating that. Let's go. And then every now and then it's...
I think there's two separate... Yeah, I mean, the only times that I've taken women for dinner is when we are actually dating, when we're boyfriend and girlfriend, or at least we are, there's some, we're kind of dating, we're seeing each other, whatever. Then that's a slightly different matter. I think for a first date, it's always a bad idea.
Yeah.
Unless you guys are out and about and maybe you've had a drink and you've gone somewhere else and then you're kind of hungry and you're like, do you know what? Actually, I kind of fancy a bite. Do you fancy? And then maybe you go somewhere more low key. You could even go to a Nando's or something or KFC if you like or whatever. But, it's not like a big let's go for this formal sit down dinner with 7 courses and, and all of that. That is too much. If it's an impromptu thing on the first date, I think that's okay. But in general, really, the first date should be a couple of drinks or maybe a couple of coffees or whatever. And that's it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because why should you invest so much in somebody who you don't know? I never understood that about the dinner date. Like, I don't know you. Yeah, but that's what dinner is for. A 100 euro dinner is for me to get to know you. How about a 2 euro coffee? To
Exactly.
see if I actually want to make that investment. And then they start reeing and getting angry, but I don't care because you're 35 and alone, so nobody cares. And I go my merry way. But in all honesty, like the girl who I took to KFC, we have been dating for a year and a half. And the reason I don't like going to dinner is I think it's a waste of money.
Wait a minute.
Because I'm always...
If you've been dating her for a year and a half,
Yes.
then at that point, I don't think there's anything wrong with going somewhere a bit more fancy. I think
No, that's
my
okay.
view is, I mean, listen, look, my ex, right? My ex, we certainly went to KFC and McDonald's and places like that, but we also went to some nice restaurants. We also went to some nice restaurants as well, just because it's kind of a cool thing to do. But I do think that is, I think that's different. If it's a girlfriend, it's somebody you're with, it's like you can, if it's just some random girl that you've just met off Tinder or something, I think that's where it's verboten to, to go for a posh dinner.
No. I agree with you. The thing was, like, this wasn't some rando from Tinder or anything else. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Cole.
But you were like, all right, okay, it's been a year and a half now, love. All right. Get your jacket on. We're going for a. We're gonna get a bucket down at KFC.
The thing with me is, and I mean, the girls who I date know what they're gonna get. I'm like, I don't care about fanciness, about luxury. I don't care about all that, because every time I went to a restaurant that wasn't all you can eat, I went home starving. I mean, I can eat like a madman.
You see,
so
yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's where maybe we differ a little bit in that, because I like, I'm a pretty simple kind of, I'm not a massive foodie or anything like that. I also like pretty, I kind of like all elements of life. Like, I like fairly cheap places, rundown places, whatever, like, the seedier parts of towns and things like that. But I also do like a little bit of the high end stuff as well on occasion. And I remember actually last year I went to a very posh place in Mayfair with my girlfriend. It was pretty expensive. I've been studying a program and made a bit of cash, and I was just like, sod it, okay, let's go here. And it was kind of cool. I like to dip my toe into those things, but I also like the other side of it as well. So I think it depends what what you're into, I guess, really. Right?
Yeah, well, here we go. Like, you like different things than I do, and that is perfectly fine. It's like, get yours. What I want is not what you want, and what you want is not what I want.
Exactly. But what we all want is Cat Academy. So join now.
Yes, do it.
Where's the link? All right. Well, look, we've been on for a little while now. Maybe we can start to close, unless anyone's got any other questions. But the goddamn Bacon says, spoiler alert, all women have a boyfriend, even when they don't. Depends how she considers you. Approaching her, that matters. Yes, I think that's generally true. Although I do also think that there are women who do have a boyfriend and no, they're not going to fuck around. I know hypergamy, blah, 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 but again, it's like taking these things literally versus taking them seriously. Some women are genuine in a relationship, and sorry, she's off limits at the moment, and that's just how it is. Rich Cooper made a point saying you should ask yourself, if you were a woman, would you date you? Probably not, to be honest. Do you agree that the economy runs because of simps? I know what he means.
I know what he means, but then you have to take away from the consideration that the greatest buying force in the economy is women. So
yeah. And then, Jack, what is your favorite apocalypse scenario?
Oh, my favorite apocalypse scenario. Oh, that's a good one. That really is a good one. Okay, I'm not a fan of zombies. I thought zombies are always a bit too meh for me. When it's like, whatever. What's happening right now in the Netherlands is pretty apocalyptic. Like with all yeah, I'm living it with all the restrictions and all that. But I like a good old fashioned. When was this? 1700 riot in the Netherlands would be pretty amazing. Look up the White brothers, the brothers White in the Dutch Parliament around 1700. You'll see what I mean. What the Dutch used to do to Parliament when they didn't agree. It's like, ooh, that was some nasty shit. but I would like enough food. Luckily, I have some prepper friends, so I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Just
Have you got what do they call it? The place where you what's it called? A bug out or something?
bug out. Like
I
a
think I
bunker
think
when
I think the term is I think the term is a bug out where you go to you've got all your food, your dried food and your weapons, all that kind
oh
of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I don't know if I've got a favorite apocalyptic situation, really. I did go to the Chernobyl Museum in Ukraine, in Kiev, though, recently. I haven't visited Chernobyl itself yet, which I would like to do. Maybe next time I go there, because you can take a coach trip to visit actual Chernobyl itself.
Damn.
But there's a museum in Kiev, in the city, where it's more like a memorial to the people that, that died in the tragedy, really. And it's one of the most depressing museums I've ever been to.
I can imagine. Like, did they have the picture of the elephant's foot?
I'm not sure.
Apparently there's a thing in Chernobyl. It's some weird melted thing, which still to this day is very radioactive, and they called it the elephant's foot because it's melted into some weird elephant foot like shape. It's like
Right.
6 feet tall waste of radioactive gunk.
I'm not sure. Yeah, they might have done. I mean, there was loads of different artifacts in there, and it was all written in well, most of it was written in Russian. There wasn't really English signs. There was a few things that were written in English as well, like letters and things like that. But a lot of it was just pictures of the victims and, children's toys and stuff like that. I mean, it was pretty depressing, really. So yeah, if you're looking for a fun Saturday afternoon in Kiev, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. Go to the McDonald's on Krashatik instead, because there's always lots of beautiful ladies in there.
At McDonald's, really?
Yeah. It's all very westernized. I don't think they've got Starbucks though, actually. But they've got all the Zara, H&M, I think. Yeah, but they've certainly got McDonald's anyway. I think they've got KFC as well, so you'll be all right if you.
I'll be fine then.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, on that slightly morbid note, let's call it to a close for today. So CAD Academy is open now. We will be closing out the weekend though, so you've only really got a few days to enroll. So take action on it now. That is the link. Go through Jack's link to support him as well, because Jack's an affiliate, so he will get a cut of the action. There we go. There. Yes, as I say, there's different tiers depending on your budget. So you can just get the digital course, which is 10 hours worth of in-depth video content. Plus, you get some books as well as a bonus. That's only £197. Then you can get that, but you also get to come to the Zoom webinars, and that is the tier that I'd recommend to most people. Cost for that is $497, which again, very low really when you compare it to other courses on the market. And then if you want the digital course plus the Zoom webinars plus 2 months worth of WhatsApp training with me as well via WhatsApp Wingman, the cost of that is $1,091. So jump on board. As I say, this will be closing soon, be closing at the weekend, so you don't have long left to enroll. I think that's about it, really. Will Jack be on Rule Zero? Well, you do come on sometimes, don't you? So
every now and then I jump on.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Cheers, guys. Good chat this morning. Okay, good to see everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.